So my thesis for the repetitio number 2 is that God is not a being that is bounded in nature. God does not belong to category of beings. Then my first supporting points is that God is not what we think of that exists with us in the real world. And the second support, we cannot fully understand God. And the support number 3, that God as God. So as my objection in the thesis, my first objection is God does not does not have a physical body that what we can see. And then my objection too is that our knowledge is very limited to understanding God. And then as of for my objection 3, we cannot argue and even make a scientific evidence of his existence because God is self-efficient, and also he does not belong to the category of beings because he is God and we recognize him as the supreme being. And then for my answer number 1 of the thesis is that we cannot say that God exists or even we cannot find him above and below the world because he does not have a physical body, and even he is not the same with the Greek gods that start with letter G, small letter G. So God in for us is something that is higher than the Greek gods. And then for my answer number 2, the question and the studies will remain, and we will always be bounded with questions that we cannot fully answer upon our understanding of God, because as human beings or as finite beings, our knowledge is limited of understanding God. And then for my answer number 3, the scientific evidence are only with the whole category that is natural but cannot give accurate evidence of God who exists. For my example number 1 is that God does not have a human body, nor we can say that he exists with us because we cannot consider him as bounded with nature. And then for my example number 2 is many times we heard God, but it will be forever remains as a very shallow assumption to God. And then for number 3, although sciences can fascinate us with its exploration and discoveries, but we cannot deny that when it comes to God, it cannot determine or explain his existence. So for my insight number 1 is that God as not just ultimate being, but he is what he is, that does not belong to the category of beings. And then to know God is to end up with God and be with God. And then we cannot see God as one with nature, but he is more than what our capacity can reach. So for my conclusion, God is what we call the all-powerful and all-high because he is the creator in which own creation cannot line up with his intellect that he have.